Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Cape Rugby TV. This is, of course, our final episode for the year. 52 episodes this year during the course of 2020. And, of course, this has been 10 years of Cape Rugby TV so far. Big thanks, of course, to our partners on board with us here at Cape Rugby TV. Score Energy Drinks, Direct Access, your financial services partner, MChem 24-hour pharmacy, and Thorburn Security Solutions. And of course, you can win yourself a case of Score Energy Drinks, a case of Bash shoes, and a set of 24 masks, courtesy of Score Energy Drinks right here. So make sure that you keep your mobile phones handy. That competition still coming up during the course of the show. Tonight is a little bit different. We are crossing to our friends of Cape Rugby TV and Club Rugby via the online platform, similar to last week, but we have them all on a Zoom session. You can see them all on the screen here. I've got Bronwyn Gonzalez Pedro from Hands and Hearts who joins us. I've got Ibrahim Murat from Primrose who joins us. Reginald Pfeiffer from Lamont. Gino Topley is back from Titans, and the ever-famous superstar Ishmael Dolly is also with us. Bronwyn, we'll start off with you. Bronwyn, fantastic to have you on the show with us. You're looking great in your Hands and Hearts outfit.
Thank you.
How are things there with you, Mania?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm just finding ways to survive this pandemic as everybody else. But I'm doing good. Thank you for that, JP. My family are spared. My club members are well. Community is doing good. So yeah, I'm glad. I'm happy. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bronwyn. Thanks for that little intro. Things are very difficult at the moment. Folks, if you've just joined in, so has Terence Greer from Blake's. He's just tuned in with us. Terence, welcome to Cape Rugby TV. Nice to have you along. You're on a slightly different show tonight. Tonight is, of course, a show which is a Zoom session, but on TV. Terence, welcome.
Hi, good evening. Welcome. Thanks, JP, for having me. And it's good to be back on your show. First of all, during this challenging time, but lucky to be alive, well and fit. So thank you so much for having me, JP.
Thanks, Terence. Nice to have you along. Ishmael Dolly, let's start off with you. You're a regular Cape Rugby TV presenter. It's 10 years now-ish of Cape Rugby TV. In a snapshot, tonight is a whole lot different to the experiences of before. I mean, you've been in the studio with us for so many years. You've joined us, of course, online during the lockdown period. And now tonight, it's a Zoom session or a digital session. What do you think?
It's amazing how we've progressed. We started off with a handheld Nokia machine to record the show, and all of a sudden we've got this fancy equipment that you've got on standby. So it's good to be here, and yeah, I'm glad to see the guys that's online are looking healthy and safe. So
let's go to you, Reginald. Reginald, you also crossed to us during the course of the lockdown, a time where things were rather complicated, but nevertheless, you and your club were you were all hands on deck. With Lamotte, making things work and taking full advantage of it. Your feeling of doing digital TV?
Thanks, JP, for inviting me to the session. It's been a hectic year. We've been starting to get our ducks in a row. Thanks for my first session with you. So I hope Lamotte gets a lot more opportunities to come here and to spread our brand, because if I look at the guys that's in there now, we aspire to be like the clubs that they represent now. So looking forward to engaging with everyone here tonight.
Ibrahim Murat, let's go to you. Evie, it's been about, 3 weeks since we spoke. In fact, it doesn't feel that long ago, and it was, of course, shortly after the Rugby 2.5 workshop. How are things there on your side?
How's it, JP? Good evening, everyone. Great to be here. It's been a very busy 3 weeks, as you know, with all the things that's been happening. A little bit difficult to plan for the year ahead, but of course like one of my colleagues said there, that it's at least we're all healthy, our families are safe, and I think that's the key thing. And it's always good to talk rugby.
Absolutely, we're looking forward to it. Tonight's going to be a whole lot of fun. Gino Topley was online with us last week. Gino, nice to have you back.
It's good to be back, JP, and to see different faces this week. But yeah, it's the moment that we get to actually talk about the rugby when everything else is standing still. So yeah, it's good always to be back. It's always for a good reason.
Ishmael, let's go to you. We had Nolene Oosthuizen, of course, on the show with us last week. It was an interesting, as I said last week, was an interesting show at the very least. But I mean, she mentioned to us that, of course, Unimil was looking forward to a big year. Obviously, very disappointing for you guys. You had so many plans on the cards.
Yeah, I think this pandemic really forced us to think outside the box. Our communities, our players, our members have been struck because of job losses, and we had to think, listen, how can we assist them? We're not just a rugby club per se that gets on the Saturday afternoon and performs on the field. There's a lot more, and my colleagues here can attest to it. We're more than just rugby clubs, and we're community clubs. And when our communities need our help during this particular times, we have to reach out in various ways to assist them. So it's been challenging, but at the same time exciting. It's food drives, it's all those interesting initiatives that we try and assist our extended communities and families. So yeah, unfortunately there was no rugby to be played in 2020, but hopefully in 2021 with an early vaccine coming through, we can put our boots on and jump onto the field.
Bronwyn, let's go to you, Hands and Hearts. You guys also, this was going to be a big year for Hands and Hearts. Very excited, of course, Super League B. Devastating for you guys. I mean, we spoke about it. We've spoken about this, let's say, off the record during those media sessions. The amount of fans at Hands and Hearts, the amount of members and plans at Hands and Hearts as well. Also very, very tough for you guys to have gone through this, call it the state of readiness and ready to play, and then the rug getting pulled out from underneath you.
Yes, definitely, JP. A lot of our players and a lot of our fans looking forward to this year because last year a lot of our fans actually carried us through the 2019 season, in Super League C, and obviously they've been following us with the whole promotion thing and everything. And now when we finally got promoted, everyone was excited to see us again in action. Our fields were full when we played the practice games, and yeah, and then lockdown happened. I mean, lockdown actually came just before the game against Kuilsrivier, and that would have been a really nice benchmark, I would say, to see how we actually prepared for the 2020 season. But then unfortunately lockdown happened, and I mean that tempered the spirits as well of the spirits of the players as well of the fans,
Folks, you're watching Cape Rugby TV. We've got Bronwyn Pedro from Hands on Hearts with us, Ebrahim Murat from Primrose, Reginald Pfeiffer from Lamott, Gino Topley from Titans, Ishmael Dali from Unimil, and Terence Crew from Blake's. Terence is, of course, Terence, you also joined us a few times during the course of the year online. Blake's as well. I mean, you guys, each one of you, in fact. I mean, but Blake's also, you guys had big plans for 2021 or 2020 at least.
Yeah, JP, we did have big plans for 2020. Unfortunately, COVID struck us, but we got to play one friendly, and we won. And we were so looking forward to our friendly against Kylmore because they're playing in a higher league. They've been promoted, and seeing that both the teams are in Stellenbosch, that would have been a big one for us just to test ourselves in terms of being game ready. But unfortunately, the match it couldn't be played. But yeah, we keep busy with off-field activities, and that's how we keep our boys motivated and engaged at all times.
Thanks, Terence. Right, folks, well, there you go. Certainly a different show tonight. And of course, as we know, 2020 has been a very, very difficult year. But nevertheless, still a number of highlights. And of course, we'll carry on talking to our friends that have joined us here this evening, as I said, via this little online session. It's a little end of the year wrap-up session. Don't go away. We carry on talking about what's happening in the world of Western Province Club Rugby. Back in a sec. Welcome back, folks. Cape Rugby TV. We carry on talking about what's happening in the world of Western Province Club Rugby. Of course, it's that time of the year now, and there's not too much happening. We are now also joined by Renzel Botman, who has now joined the show. Renzel, of course, also represents Hands and Hearts, but also Cape Rugby TV. Renzel, nice to have you join us.
Hey, good evening, JP. It's nice to be on the show. And it's actually nice to see all these faces. It's good to see different faces, but familiar faces. Yeah, so it's nice to be here.
Bronwyn, let's go to you now. 2020 was a lot of planning and from a Hands and Hearts point of view before you went into it, and we spoke to Renzel as well, of course, on the show. But 2020 was a year that you were looking at building your old boy structure. You were during the 2020 times. You were also reaching out and encouraging a lot of members to sign up and get involved with the club during the year.
Yeah, definitely. I actually watched the show where Renzel was on, and rightly so. We were looking forward to building those old boy structures. You know, we have a structure already in place, but just to get them to help the young guns and to even help us as the senior guys, you know, just give us this extra motivation, and also just to help us prepare ourselves for the new season.
Yeah. Ishmael, let's go to you. Let's go back to you. Reginald, I'm going to come to you in a second, but Ish, let's go to you because both you and Ebby have got a good understanding of building old boy structures. You've been involved with club leadership space for a long time. You've been coaching clubs for a long time, but you've come through the ranks. You've come through the ranks of being involved with clubs at many levels. Your take on the importance of looking after the past players and having that bond and keeping them involved.
Yeah, I think with no rugby this year, it would have been with rugby, it would have been a perfect platform just to have that sort of engagement, activation, and sort of get them back towards the club. And you know, you never know when you can lend on a hand on an old boy that maybe has a business, or you can get someone to get in contact with him and make sure that, you know, these guys have always good connections and networks. So it's important to have that communications and networks in place. But I mean, I think with what has happened this year with no rugby, I think there's been a lot of positives as well. Guys have recovered from injuries. I think a lot of clubs have taken a break in terms of their fields. Some fields I've seen on Facebook as looking in prime condition just because there hasn't been any sort of activity on those fields. Injuries, guys that have had long-term injuries, they've recovered. So yeah, not all doom and gloom for this year. A lot of coaches I've seen have been on webinars. So hopefully next year we're going to come out and all the coaches are going to be, you know, these level 3, IRB level 3 gurus. So hopefully we'll see some excellent game plans and structures in place going into 2021 on the field.
Ebby, let's go to you. Same question. The importance of those, before we start talking about IRB level 3, 4, and as high as it gets, because then we'll come back to you on that one. Because education is right up your alley. But the importance of past players and the old boy structures.
JP, I think that's something that is, I think, understated the value, specifically within the club structures. I think Bronwyn mentioned it's something that Hands and Hearts is really working hard on. And I think a couple of weeks ago you had Durbell, I can't remember the guy's name, who was in charge of the old boys fraternity within that. And I think Ish also pointed to that, you know, there's a lot of value that sits in that alumni, that ex-players. And it's if you look at it from a school's perspective, it's been something that's been there for 50 or 100 years already. And in most cases, those are the structures that actually keep those institutions alive, especially when it comes to sport. So I do think it's perhaps something that maybe from your side, also from a Cape Rugby point of view, you know, to look a little bit deeper into that over the next year or two, to encourage clubs to form their own sort of structures, because as we've seen over the years, that those alumni bodies can really be the key turning point for clubs to become self-sustainable over the years. And any club that is trying to implement structures like that should be commended. And I must also say, having been involved in some of those structures, that it's not something easy. There's a cultural aspect to it, and in a lot of our community clubs, that culture of sort of plowing back doesn't really exist, because there's a lot of dynamics that plays with that, and how you structure that is obviously very important, and people that have been exposed to those sort of environments play obviously a key role.
Now, one of the most exciting stories that I looked at this year was Lamotte. Reginald, let's go to you. Your plans at Lamotte are fantastic, and at Lamotte, pretty much everybody in the area is a rugby fan.
Yes, definitely, JP. Just to add on what Ibrahim said about the old boys, something stood out for me, and that's actually the culture aspect of the value that old boys add to our clubs. So when you often get new players coming into the club, uh, the youth guys coming through, and you need the old boys to instill those values and the culture of the club into those new players, so that the gelling process actually becomes easier on the field. But in terms of our plans, yes, we're putting in our really investing a lot of time in our youth guys, and we are trying to get a competition going where we get our boys not only playing at school level, but also uh, systematically introduce them into club rugby. So if we start this from an early age, hopefully when they finish school, it won't be such a huge bridge to cross over to senior club rugby. And that's actually what we that's our long-term objective in terms of what we're trying to do in Lamotte. But otherwise, rugby is life here in the small community in the Winelands.
Folks, we are going to take an ad break, but before we go to the break, let me just remind you, of course, you need to be practicing all the health and safety protocols. It currently is not negotiable. You need to practice the social distancing, you need to wash your hands, and you need to wear the mask. You've heard the message before. It's not just a question of listening to the message, you actually have to do the actions. I repeat that. You must absolutely make sure that you practice social distancing. You must wash your hands regularly and always wear a mask, please. Welcome back, everybody. It's Cape Rugby TV. We keep on going. Even under these difficult times, we try and keep the spirit and the gees amongst our club rugby fans, administrators, and enthusiasts going. And Ishmael Dolly is on the show with us, and Gina Topley's here from Titlands, and Bronwyn from Hands and Hearts is with us, and of course Renzel Botman and Reginald Pfeiffer. Ish, let's go to you. Super League A. And we had Morgan Newman on the show last week. Now, you would have loved this. You would have loved the opportunity to have a go at Morgan Newman. The two of you would have been a special occasion. But he was saying that Unimil would have been one of the star outfits for Super League A in 2020. Look, I've got Gino Topley with me right now. He was there, and Gino will be able to tell us firsthand. But he mentioned that there were some teams that were really going to come through the ranks in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams that showed a lot of promise, especially during those early months in Feb and March this year. So it would be difficult to pinpoint which teams, would have blossomed during the year, because obviously no rugby took place. But I mean, I think with potentially a new season coming up, it gave us more than a year sort of to prepare. And hopefully that preparation, whether it's off-field, webinars, for admins, for coaches, can come to fruition. No club can say, listen, we didn't have enough time to prepare our paperwork, etc. With these new conditions and protocols in place, just to get a certificate of operation from Western Province to start training is already, getting all that COVID certificates from players, etc. is already an admin sort of nightmare. But you must adapt to the times, and these are the times that require such adaptability. So bring on 2021, I say.
Ebrahim Murad, Ebi Baba, you of course have been preparing for months before Super League A was potentially going to start. But in your mind, even with all of those preparations, it did come across that you were ready for any team that was going to come your way.
Yeah, 100% JP. We've had this has most definitely been our longest preseason ever. We go from off season to preseason, back to off season. But I think the key thing for us as a collective is, to kind of get over it in a way. It's kind of pointless harping on the fact that, we didn't have this and we didn't have that. COVID is here. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. And like you said, you've got to adapt to the times. You've got to find new creative ways to engage with the players, new creative ways to engage with the members, and get on with it. The things won't be the same. But again, going back to your comment there earlier, we felt that we were in a very strong position ahead of what would have been Super League B in 2020, and unfortunately we couldn't sort of reap the rewards of all the effort. But again, it's given us now an extra 12 months. So like Ish said, there's really no excuse come 2021 for us to go into the league, and we can't blame COVID forever. We've got to make sure that, when the time comes, that our players rock up and the support structures are in place, and, ultimately get the reward that it is that we're seeking.
Yeah, folks, you're watching Cape Rugby TV. Abraham Marat there talking about Primrose Rugby Football Club. Is of course head coach there, and Ebby, we were really looking forward to seeing Primrose on the park this year. We know that you had so many plans, and but I think as Ish said as well, the season was going to be a tough season. Unfortunately, two of our members have just dropped out. I was just about to start engaging on Super League B, which we know in 2019 was probably a very, very tough year. Well, let's not say it was a very, very tough year. In fact, let's just say that it was probably the league that had the closest matches that we've seen in a long time. Bronwyn, let's go to you. We see you dropped out for a second there, but Bronwyn, we were just talking about Super League B. Super League B, we have always said, and Mario Williams, folks, has just joined us. Mario, fantastic to have you there. Great to see you joining us as well, especially under these difficult conditions. But we're happy to see you there, Mario.
Thank you, JP. Nice to be here.
Folks, Mario is, of course, from Western Province Rugby and Young Gardens. He's been in the world of club rugby for forever. Knows the ins and outs of club rugby. And we'll talk to him in a second, especially ask him about Young Gardens, find out what's going on there. But Bronwyn, let's go to you. Super League B, at least. We were just talking about it off air. Many people say Super League B is the toughest league that you can get. And certainly, when we were looking at 2019, every game we were looking at, we were commenting in studio, were these 1 point margins or 2 point margins. They were the closest games. Hands on hearts, Super League B. How did you plan Super League B?
Great question, and I have to agree with you. Super League B is, I would say, it is the toughest league, because you can never say, this week we're playing this team, we can beat them by such a margin. How we planned was, our coach, Mr. Links, he actually just instilled belief in the guys again, to tell them, listen, in Super League B, this is where we actually belong. Super League C, was just, what is the word? A striker block in Afrikaans. So yeah, that was Super League C. We managed to get to Super League B. So guys, this is where we belong, and he actually know that we have the ability, to take it right through to end up in the top. I would say, I believe we would have ended up in the top 4 for this year.
That's big talk. That's big talk.
Did you say top 14 of this year?
Top 4, Ibrahim. I believe in my guys, though.
I love that. This is the passion of club rugby. I've been involved in sport for many, many years, and there is nothing that beats the passion of club rugby. Mario, let's go to you. Do you agree with me? The passion, die gees van club rugby, you can't beat it.
Yes, definitely. We actually misses it a lot this year. And yeah, and we can't. I think everybody just can't wait to get back onto the pitch and get next to the field and cheer on the teams. It's quite an adaptation for this year, and I think next year will also be very critical. The way it goes now, we don't know when we're going to start next year, but we are hopefully we are all hopeful, and we are praying that we will get back to normal again, and so that we can enjoy our favorite sport. And I know that the teams, the players are all getting themselves ready. It's an on and off cycle now, but hopefully we all will get back into the game hopefully next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, you're watching Cape Rugby TV. We'll take an ad break. When we come back from the break, we'll carry on talking about what's happening in the world of Western Province Club Rugby. Difficult times at the moment, but nevertheless, we are wrapping up the year and, of course, talking about where we were for 2020. I keep thinking 2019, and maybe I'm right. Maybe this is a year we must just put out of our mind as if it didn't exist. Before we go, we, of course, have an opportunity to give you an opportunity to win yourself the score hamper, which is, of course, the double whammy. All right, so of course all you need to do is SMS the word score, as you see it on the screen behind me there right now. Just SMS the word score to 33090, 33090, and you can put yourself in the mix to win the double hamper. And now this week the double hamper consists of a case of Score energy drinks, 24 in that case. It also includes a case of Bashu's cool drinks, 24 Bashu's cool drinks, and on top of that we'll throw in a set of Cape Rugby TV masks. All right, all you need to do to win basically that triple hamper is SMS the word score to 33090, and you can put yourself in the mix to win that like I say, triple hamper. Of course, congratulations to last week's winner, Wanda Geispan. Wanda, somebody from Cape Rugby TV is going to be in touch with you. You win yourself that case of Score energy drinks, a case of Bashu's, as well as a set of Cape Rugby TV masks, which are, of course, courtesy of CTC Sports. Folks, we will now take an ad break. When we come back from the break, we'll carry on talking to our friends here on Cape Rugby TV on our online Zoom session. Back in a sec. Don't go away. Welcome back, everybody. It's Cape Rugby TV. We're carrying on talking about what's happening in the world of club rugby. It is, of course, our last show of the year. And for those of you that are not aware of it, this would have been or has been 10 years of Cape Rugby TV. And this is episode 52 for the year. 10 years of putting club rugby on TV. Mario, let's talk to you a little bit about Lamut is just around the corner there. The Paarl region showed some remarkable activity earlier in the year. Lots of friendlies, derbies getting going. And then, of course, the Paarl rugby team itself was ready for action in Super League A. And then we saw a lot of the Paarl clubs joining in the media marketing workshops that was happening at Western Province. So certainly a lot of very interested, very exciting club leadership structures in the Paarl area.
Yes, JP. As you know, that we are a rugby mad community here, and we love our game, and we encourage our young guys, our young people, students, etc., to also get involved in the game and to assist our clubs, with the marketing and also to equip themselves also as coaches, as referees, and in all the facets of the game. So it's quite important for us to get us on top as well, administratively as well. So we try to cover all areas of the game. And we are a rugby mad community here, and we just want to achieve, and we're grateful for Paarl Rugby Club that's also in the Super League A, and They have also drawn up quite a number of our PAL region players, into their squads, and they have performed. Last year they performed pretty well in Super League A, and hopefully they can make their mark again in 2021. And also the other clubs as well, in the friendlies. Quite a number of clubs are going to the Franschhoek area to play their friendlies there against Lamort, against Denner here, against Franschhoek. All the clubs there in that area, and it's good for preparation. It's good for them as well to test them against stronger opposition as well in Western Province Rugby. So we all trying to work together and see if we can get a better product on the pitch.
Let me open this question up to the room. Derbies. If we look at derbies is one of the things that really attracts the fans on any given day. And on any given day in Western Province Club Rugby, there's a derby. And I think Mario mentioned a few interesting derbies there. A lot of clubs in the neighborhood there. Everybody's close to each other. But if I had to ask this room here, the biggest derbies that you think of in Western Province. Ebby, let's start with you. In your mind, if you think of any derby in Western Province Rugby, what would you say? And I'm going to give everybody in the room here an opportunity to throw their biggest derby at me. And it doesn't have to be your own club. What would you say, Ebby, is the big derby that you think of?
Yo, JP, that's a tough question. There's a lot of derbies. If I think close to home, obviously from a community club perspective, I would think SK Warmers Collegians. That's
SK and Collegian. All right, I'm going to leave you on that one. You can come back to me with the second option. Yeah. We'll leave you on. This is the difficult part now. Reginald, let's ask you on your side, in your mind, the biggest derby.
It's a difficult one. But the PAL guys can testify that Franschhoek game against any PAL club it's a huge game. But I'll probably go for Franschhoek against Pineal Villages.
Franschhoek and Pineal Villages. All right. Well, we've got two on the card so far. Ishmael Dolly, in your mind, the biggest derby, and I know you're thinking, "Oh, just like now, I've got to give him the right answer."
Baba still my first option.
SK and Collegians, Franschhoek and Pineal Villages. All right.
I think also on top of the list should be Tiger with Belhar. I mean, whenever those two clubs clash, number one, the fans come out in the droves, and it's always a big clash between those two clubs.
Yeah. And Bronwyn, let me guess. Are you going to tell me that it's Hands and Hearts in Scottsdene?
Yes, definitely, JP. The numbers speak for itself. The numbers speak for itself with regards to that derby. Kraaifontein is literally empty on that day. Whether we play at home or whether we play on Scottsdean's field, it's literally empty. You can find whoever you're looking for. Just go to either one of the field, depending where the games are. You can just go to the field and find whoever you want to. They will be there at the game,
Aaron Schreef, I'm putting you on the spot now as well, sir. Give me your derby. Any derby across any league in Western Province.
I'm going to stick to my league, JP. I'm going to say it's going to be Blake's and Stellenbosch Coronations, and as well as Blake's and Van der Stel. That's big games coming down in Stellenbosch. Always packed crowds, and you've covered it a few times, so you would know that that's big games coming down in the Northern League.
And Gino Topley, I'm going to go to you, sir. You tell me, from a Titans perspective, although you don't have to say Titans, in your mind, what you mentioned last week that you thought that matches like Titans against Caledonian Roses would be a derby match. But in your mind, if you had to pick any match in Western Province, what would it be?
JP, honestly, what you guys were actually stirring up now, Ishmael, whatever JP said is 100% true. Of whoever whoever was speaking last week, 100% true. We have to throw the spice on the beef so we can enjoy it from the TV perspective. But honestly, I don't know. Super B was always an open record game for all the teams there. You never know who's actually going to win in all of those. And like you're saying, it is the most exciting league in South African rugby, I would say. But yeah, I won't say. I just really think that my after seeing the start of the year that Hands and Hearts are actually doing well. My money is on them to actually do something when the league actually opens.
But you haven't answered the question. I'm going to keep you on the spot here. I'm going to tie you because the whole room here is waiting for you to tell us what would you say is the biggest derby in Western Province. It doesn't have to be the biggest derby. What is your favorite derby?
Well, right now, Unimall Hamilton's, I want to see that after the beef that was thrown up last week and adding it right now. So that is what I want to see.
There we go. Thanks, guys. I'll be back with you in a second. Folks, as you know, on a weekly basis, we take a look at the MChem 24-hour pharmacy public reviews. And these reviews are, of course, posted via social media such as Facebook and, of course, Google. Public reviews where there's a review of MChem 24-hour pharmacy. And this week's review comes in from Shireen Leno. And Shireen gives MChem 24-hour pharmacy a 5-star rating. And she goes on to say, fantastic service, very well stocked, lovely nurses at the travel clinic. Of course, that's what we've come to expect from MChem pharmacy. Of course, generally getting a 5-star rating as they, of course, aim for that gold standard, as Mr. Malach from MChem will, of course, tell you. Folks, every staff member at MChem 24-hour pharmacy is geared to help you with all of your pharmaceutical requirements. From the minute that you park to the minute that you leave, MChem staff are there to help you with whatever you need, whenever you need it. And that's, of course, MChem's promise. And MChem 24-hour pharmacy is always open. In fact, they're open 24 hours a day, and that they're always there to help you. As I said, 24 hours a day, every day. Folks, that's, of course, just down the road on the N1 on the corner of Durban Road, MChem 24-hour pharmacy. We'll take a break. When we come back from the break, we'll carry on talking to our friends in our online session. Back in a sec. Mario, let's go to you for a second there. Where before the break we were talking about derbies and how many derbies. I mean, it's quite exciting to watch, to see that if you looked at the questions that I asked now, there were a number of different answers there of a whole lot of different derbies. On any given Saturday in Western Province Rugby, there's a derby somewhere. I mean, you just walk around the corner and there's a derby. Any league will have a derby. That is really good for rugby.
Yes, definitely, JP. Local derbies is always the best out of the teams, and as I can also mention here in Paul, in the Paul Region League, you will have the biggest one will be Lower Paul versus Riverstones. We call that a local Chicago derby. And the bigger ones, outside the league, will be a Lower Paul versus Young Peoples, which is also a very big one on the calendar every year. And then last year I also went to Strand, and I watched a big derby there, St. George's against Makassar, which was also a very, very huge one. I think you guys covered that game as well. It was a massive one. So I haven't seen some of the other derbies yet, but I've heard of all those other derbies like the Hands and Hearts, Skotzien, and Tiger Bird Belhar ones. I've heard of those ones, and also I think Collegians against Rangers is also a big one as well when they play each other. It's quite interesting, and it's quite brings out the best out of all the players. It's just like in the provincial as well. The local derby is always brings out the best out of the guys, and it's good for rugby as well.
Bronwyn,
But talking about derbies, I actually forgot to mention Hamlets versus anyone is a derby, because they always come with 3 buses of people, 1 bus for the players, 2 buses for their supporters. So whenever they play, it's always a derby. We actually forgot about that one.
I think if we start looking for derbies, we're going to find a lot of different names here. I think Kelly's and tell us about the rag, Ebby.
Yeah, look, the rag is a traditional derby between community teams. As you know, during the formative years in District 6, there were many clubs that were actually formed in District 6. So Montrose as well. You can actually sketch all the history of all the community club, especially in the Muslim community, back to District 6. A lot of them were formed in that era. And the rag was actually started as a sort of a voluntary, or rather voluntary benevolent society that was going to support certain institutions, and the game itself was obviously a commemoration and a celebration of that, and that has been carried over. I don't know, I've actually had a booklet at one stage that spelled out the history of it, and it's quite really interesting to see, what it stood for and how it's carried through. And even though Stars and Callies traditionally over the last sort of decade hasn't played in the top echelons of Super League Rugby, as you know, they haven't been in Super League A or Super League B even, but yet that game carries so much significance. And I think that really sums up the true nature of a game like that it doesn't matter which league. And earlier my colleagues were talking about, Makassar and Strand, and if it was Unimil, and you'd think that a game at a higher league would be more important, so to speak, but it's actually not the case. You'll find a derby in 3-4 leagues down that would probably be more significant to what a Super League A derby would be, because of what it actually means in that community for those people, for those players, and for those members. And I think that is testimony to something like the rag that has stood the test of time over multiple decades, still being such an important aspect on the calendar for so many people of the community.
Terence, if we go to you from a personal perspective or a Blake's perspective, as we start wrapping up the show now, give us one highlight that comes to mind for you in 2020.
So for me, the highlight was definitely giving back to shelters, crisis, and just overall our community.
It's been incredible watching you guys. Let's you actually need to give yourselves a pat on the back. Reginald Pfeiffer, Lamotte Rugby Club. Anything that comes to mind?
Well, the most positive thing is the successful merger between Lamotte and Wimmerzoek. It was once arch rivals in the Simmelsburg League, so now we known as Lamotte Wanderers and competing as such. And then the successful election of our new management in November.
Renzo Botman, final words from you. A shout out for any of your fans out there.
Geez, I'm gonna sit here all night, James. But from my side, I think 2020 was just gosh, don't actually know what to say. But for us, it was a whole different feel. Like I said earlier, every Saturday we normally go out to the field. And this year, being stuck in the studio, but also it was a learning curve, for me, and also just, getting to speak to coaches and players and management, and, getting to know these guys and, these clubs that did so much for these communities. And I think that was so hard felt this year.
Yeah, thanks, friends. Mario Williams, we're going to wrap up the show with you, sir. Let's bring in your pearls of wisdom. You've heard you've heard our friends that are on the panel with us here looking back at 2020. A lot of positives, a lot of negatives. For me, that jumps out really are the tremendous amount of positives and just how incredible the world of club rugby is and what club rugby can do, but also a lot of ambitions for 2021. If you give it your sense of feeling for, if you reflect back on 2021, on 2020, what would you be thinking firsthand?
Well, JP, thank you again. Well, for me, 2020 was basically projected through the humane factor that came through from the club side. The spirit of Ubuntu that came through. each one, always try to dig deep into themselves and see where they can assist the community, their fellow players, the spectators, and everyone around them. So the spirit of Ubuntu really came through very, very strong this year, and I hope that it will also carry throughout to the future as well. And then I also would like to say thank you to these coaches and managers here tonight as well. That have kept their focus throughout the year. They have equipped themselves also to be better in a better position for 2021. Well done to them as well, and also to you for availing your time to train our administrators to also become more efficient in what they can do and how they can also uplift their clubs as well. So I think clubs are much stronger. They are when it comes to that, coaching wise, administrative wise, and I'm sure that that will be a blessing when they go into the 2021 season for next year. So thank you very much again to all of you that have partake throughout the year and stand strong behind their players and behind their communities in order to keep the club's flags still flying so that we can proceed into the 2021. And as one of the speakers already said, our main goal for 2021 will be just to play rugby. That will be our focus for 2021. Thank you.
So, folks, we'll say to all of you, thank you very much for joining us this evening, as we, of course, expect that you will go and spend some time with your loved ones during this very difficult time. We expect that you will wrap up the year, and I will say to all of you that I will see you next year.
Thank you,
JP.
Thank you, JP.
Which means that's in about 3 days' time. It's about 3 days' time, so it's not that far away. Right, folks, there we go. Of course, our guest from Cape Rugby TV joining us on the line there. And before we go, we'll, of course, say to all of you, thank you very much for spending the time with us during 2020. Probably the most difficult year that we've ever had. Certainly for Cape Rugby TV, it's been a special year. 52 episodes of 10 seasons so far. And watching our clubs in action this year, not so much during the 80 minutes or between the white lines, but watching them in action as their club rugby leadership skills really showed what it means to be running a club structure and what it means to be running a club that looks after the members and the participants in the area has been quite incredible. Watching our club leaders step up and our players step up and galvanize themselves into team structures, not to play rugby, but to look after those in need has been an incredible opportunity, an incredible privilege. But in addition to that, watching our club administrators and club rugby leaders upskill themselves for a better 2021. And looking at the development of women's rugby is something that comes to mind for me, that we know in 2021 we are going to have a very strong, high-performance women's division at Western Province Rugby, and that's very exciting. Looking at our clubs that have embarked on the approach to increase the membership within their past player structures, and many of our clubs building their youth structures. The list goes on and on. It has been an incredible year in 2020, as difficult as it might be. But I'll take these final words and remind you that while you are out there, please do not take things for granted. Always practice social distancing. Wash your hands regularly and always wear a mask. Folks, we are in this together to fight and contribute to the prevention of the spread of COVID-19. And I'll say to all of you out there as you celebrate, hopefully with your loved ones, the end of 2020, and we look forward to seeing you again in 2021. I'll say to you, have a fantastic rugby weekend. Bye-bye.